Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so please see this table one. So Tendulkar committee include two changes they made. Definitely, other are also, but one thing they included the expenditure on health and education. See that what this table says that here in 2004 and 5 the rural poverty line was 446 rupees 70 paise. Clear? 446.70 paise, and 41.8% of the rural population was below than poverty line. If you take this poverty line, rural poverty line, so in urban areas 578 rupees 80 paisa was considered as the urban poverty line, and 25.7% population was below the poverty line. If you combine in 2004 and 5, rural poor and urban poor, then total poor out of the total population of India, it was 37.2%. 37.2%. Now, just you go back this 37.2%. See, 37.2%. So, and here it is 27.5%. Approximately 10 percentage points. Approximately 10 percentage points. The population showing higher. 10 percentage points. Year remains same. Just to imagine that. Year remains same. The poverty you estimated on the data, that is the consumption expenditure data, it again remains same. Only methodology you have changed. So just change in methodology, you can see that in the same year, on the basis of same consumption expenditure data, now poverty in India is 37.2%. Even you compare with this 93-94, that time it was 36% of the population was below the poverty line, but now 37.2% of the population is below the poverty line. It's not comparable, I know, because methodology you have changed. Here the methodology was different. But if normal comparison, you can see the total percentage of populations below the poverty line, then just you see the condition. So basically, it has increased 10 percentage points. So you can imagine how we are measuring the poverty line. You understand one thing. Okay, just go. So 37.2% it was showing in that 2004 and 5 the population. But 2011-12, the poverty line is reflecting 816 rupees, and 25.7% of rural population it was below the poverty line, and 1000 poverty line considered for the urban areas, and total urban population it was 13.7%, and combined rural and urban total poverty was 21.9%. Means incidence of poverty it was 21.9%. That's round figure we are saying it's a 22%. Round figure is 22%. Okay, so just you can just check here, okay, how we are measuring the poverty in India, the poverty estimations, we are doing that. Okay, so simple logic you have to understand. If you take, it's our country, if you take poverty line here, so it means if population is below than this, there were only poor. If you increase little bit more poverty line, then the whole this much population is going to be under the poverty. So what you are getting that? If a little bit more your poverty line, you are just keeping it, a very significant percentage of population is going to be below the poverty line. So if you keep your poverty line as lower as possible, then you are able to show, yes, poverty is lower in the country. Okay. And why it is necessary to measure the poverty as per our requirement or actual poverty? Because you understand when you are going to allot the fund and when you are going to implement any plan and policies, then you have to allocate comfortable or reasonable amount of fund so that all the poor people, they can get benefits and you can bring them above than the poverty line. But suppose there is a huge number of persons, they are poor, but appropriate amount you are not allocating, and the expenditure you are going to for upliftment of these poor people above than poverty line, it's not going to materialize because amount you are allocating is relatively less. So you have to allocate the fund, for eradication of poverty, okay, as a sufficient amount, and it is only possible if you are able to estimate poverty, the actual poverty you can say, or as per, actual poverty you can say, and there we are somewhere we are saying, So just you think, like I am taking the 2011-12 as per the expert group, they are saying that, say urban areas, 1000 rupee is enough. That is a statement you have written there. 1000 rupees is enough for a person who can meet the basic necessities, and 1000 rupees is per head per month. This 1000 rupees is the requirement of per head per month, per head and per month. So you imagine that really out of 1000 you can spend 1 month and get the basic necessities including your health and educations. Okay, so again there is a, you can criticize on that, you can say that which is not possible like this. But if you suppose you are posted in a district and you are the, suppose you are district magistrate and government announced this policy and a reporter is coming to you asking, sir, is it possible? So what you can say? No, no dear. That time you have to defend it. It means you should also know how to defend this and what is the rationale behind the government is saying this. So as far as basic necessity is concerned, you have to include all the government policies and all the existing policies in the country. First of all, you can give this argument, this 1000 rupees is per head per month. But normally in a family, not in each and every family, not a single person is staying. In a family, on an average, 5 persons stay. 5 persons stay. So if you take the whole family, then average 5-person family, it's not 1000, it's the 5000 is the minimum amount. Clear? Minimum amount. So if you take a family, then 5000 person, and who given this recommendation? Rangarajan is basically, Rangarajan committee recommended that India should measure poverty not on the basis of individual but on the basis of household as a unit. Household as a unit. Because if you take household as a unit, what the argument you have to give? If you take household as a unit, then NSO report, because that report was the NSSO, but NSO you can say today. Okay, one of the reports saying that on an average size of household in India is 4.3 person in a family, in a household. So even if you round it, take the 5 persons in the economy, so it is going to be the 5000 in a family. Number one, you can say. Second argument, you can say, in a family or in a household, if 5 months stay together, 5 members stay together, then so many expenditures are going to be the common expenditure, like room rent, electricity. Yeah, because in one room or even in the 2 rooms, suppose you are staying, we are thinking about the poor people. So in a room or 2 rooms you are staying, it means that light consumption is same. So your rent, your this one is same. Plus the some cost is going to decrease. Why? Because if you're staying together and cooking together, then average cost is going to decrease per person. If you stay 5% differently, they are cooking it, their cost will be higher. But if 5% stay together and then you cook, then the cost is going to be decreased per head. So cost is going to decrease. This argument you can say that. Second, you can say that under NFSA, National Food Security Act 2013, government is giving normal cereals at rupees 1, wheat they are giving at rupees 2, and 3 rupees they are giving the rice. So at this rate they are giving the normal cereals, wheat and rice at a very highly subsidized price. And these necessary goods, they can afford it. Because for below poverty line persons, this provision is there. They can get this food grains. So they are getting food grains. And for BPL card holders, if they are really poor, then for them government is running the free education. They are getting the free uniform, free books. Okay. So they are getting the free education. That's, you can say. Even the midday meal scheme is there. They are getting the midday meal scheme. The government is giving that. Even health services, they are getting free. Basically, in some states, you are talking about you have to pay very nominal fee, or like Bengal government is just make everything is free. Particularly health services. It's really it is one of the good steps. Okay, so there you are getting the free medical services. So in this way, you include so many things, and you can say, yes, this is the criteria, this is enough for the persons to survive. So this way you have to give argument and you can defend it. Clear? But you know, this Tendulkar committee basically recommended in 2009. So 2005 Tendulkar committee was constituted. You are knowing that. And 2009 they submitted the report. And 2011, basically, the report accepted by the Planning Commission and estimated the poverty. And in 2010, they also estimated the 2004 and 5, the same year. They compare the data and they are getting, the poverty is higher one. So again, when 2011-12 data they have published in 2012, they published basically 2012. The Tendulkar poverty on the basis of Tendulkar committee recommendation in 2012. So again in 2012, the protest started, the experts criticized. So it is one of the good things for the government, yes, if some issues arise, then better way you constitute a committee. So once you constitute the committee, then you can say to the persons and the public, if we constitute the committee, let the committee will do their own work and truth will come out. And law will take their own, on time. So in this way, just you can do that. Same thing the Planning Commission did again. In 2012, they constituted another committee under the Rangarajans. So, Rangarajans. And the Rangarajan committee submitted the report in 2014, but till that time, the government at the center changed. And the recommendations by this committee remained as it is. So officially accepted is the Tendulkar committee, but yes, Rangarajan also estimated this. If your Rangarajan committee you're talking about, Rangarajan, okay, if you just think Rangarajan committee. So Rangarajan committee basically saying that 972 rupees is the poverty line for rural areas, and 1407 rupees is for urban area. This is the rural poverty line and it is the urban poverty line. So Rangarajan is saying that in place of taking the individual as the poverty line, you multiply with the 5. So how much you are getting for this? 4,860 rupees, 4,860. and here you are getting rupees 7,035. 7,035. So this committee recommended that if you are not taking individual as a unit of measurement for the poverty, you take this household of 5, then the rural poverty line will be 4,860 and urban poverty line will be 7,035, which looks rational one. Okay, and they given the same argument. If you take 5% as a unit in a household, so it's looks a rational one, and also the so many cost is going to be common, and the other cost is going to decrease. Okay, just you write all of you. Right. Planning Commission in just right in 2012. In 2012, Planning Commission constituted an expert committee under the chairmanship of Rangarajan, full stop. Just you write one more line, under Rangarajan, under the chairmanship of Rangarajan, to review the methodology adopted by the planning commissions, Clear? Full stop, right? Expert group submitted its report in 2014. Giving per capita monthly expenditure as 971 rupee for rural areas, and rupees 1407 rupees 1407 rupee for urban areas, as poverty line. Fine. Full stop, right? Expert group preferred to use monthly expenditure of household of 5 for the poverty line purpose, what you have written? Expert group prefer to use monthly expenditure of households of 5 members for the poverty line purpose, which is rupees, just already I multiplied, which is rupees 4,860 for rural areas, and rupees 7,035 for urban areas. Clear? For 7,035 for urban areas. Okay, full stop, right? Expert group accepted that expenditure of household is more appropriate than that of individuals okay, because living together reduces expenditure full stop. Right, major recommendations where, right, first point, major changes what they done it, where, first point, right, it shifted to old system of separate poverty line baskets. It shifted to old system of separate poverty line basket for rural and urban areas. See there, here you have to understand what you are getting and how you are getting this, because you remember YK Alag taken the two different PLB. Tendulkar committee taken uniform PLB, but Rangarajan again going for the different PLB. Okay, so that things you are saying. It shifted to old system of separate poverty line baskets for rural and urban areas. Okay, next point you write. In place of mixed reference period, I think one of you asked the questions. Now see this. In place of mixed reference period, it recommended modified mixed reference period. In which reference periods for different items were taken. Okay, under this second point, you write two sub points under second points. You are saying now modify reference period. So what is the meaning of this? You write A, B, C. You put A, B, C like this. A you write first. The second point you have written, Nadia. Second points when you written. So just you write A, B, C. Three different points, sub points. Why? Because modified MRP means URP. You remember I discussed. It only represents the survey you are doing for one particular month. Okay, MRP 1 month plus 365 days, there is 1 year and 1 month. When separately you take some items for 1 week expenditure, then it is known as the modified MRP. So that is the reason 3 points we have to write within the second point. Write first A, 365 days for clothing, footwear, education, comma, institutional medical expenditure, comma, durable goods. Okay. B you write for 7 days, 7 days for you write edible oil. Yeah. Right, 7 days for edible oil, egg, fish, meat, vegetables, fruits, etc. etc. So these items, the expenditure on these items you are taking weekly, means for 7 days you consider. Okay. Third one, right? Third point. 30 days for remaining food items, including fuel, light, rent, non-institutional medical expenditure, etc. etc. So this is known as a modified MRP. Cleared here? Now you just write first here, read all of you first. So here we are taking 2011-12. Here you take rural, you take urban, you take all India. So rural population poverty ratio is, rural poverty is 30.9%, and urban is 26.4%, 26.4%, and 29.5% is your all India. Hmm. 26.4%. It's all India. Clear? So what you're getting here? So here you're getting if you take the Rangarajan committee, so poverty line is clear. Already I discussed. Okay. So you are knowing that poverty line is 972. The 5% is the recommendations, but actually they calculate 972 and 1407. So just on the basis of this, they are saying 30.9% of the rural population, 30.9% of the rural population, they stay below the poverty line, and 26.4% of the population in urban area, 26.4% of the population of urban areas, they stay below the poverty line. And combined you take then all over India 29.5%. It means if a round figure you do, if you are making the round figure, so around 30%, around 30% of the population of India, they stay below poverty line. And these all are in 2011-12, but after pandemic, if even in the same methodology, but methodology you are knowing how we are taking very minimum amount, very low amount to measure the poverty. If you start taking the actual poverty line, then your population will be, poverty line will be much, and poverty, the incidence of poverty will be much more. Just Rangarajan, which is this committee was constituted by the planning commissions, and their recommendation, their formula, if you use, so the same year 11 and 12, same year, same consumption data, then Lukar is saying 22%, but Rangarajan committee method you adopt, follow, then it's going to be 30%. So you can just think about it, how it's differentiating. So just methodology and the formula is going to change the poverty in India. So question is that what should be or how we can measure the actual poverty line. So just you give a small heading, poverty measurement. Poverty measurement. Just you write few lines. Okay. One line. Right. After these discussions, you can write India's poverty. You can write redefining poverty. Poverty measurement. You can write redefining poverty. Okay. Right. India's poverty needs redefining, making it comprehensive enough, to take into account social and economic factors, social and economic factors. full stop, right? The determination of a poverty line, the determination of a poverty line cannot be based on an arbitrary selection of a low level of expenditure, bracket you can put income, because low level of expenditure, bracket income, okay, full stop, right? Only scientific criteria can justify where the poverty line only scientific criteria can justify where the poverty line should be drawn, and it must be based on empirical studies. It must be based on empirical studies. Means you have to just say if this is the amount of poverty line, then you have to give that much amount to a group of persons, okay, and even under the strict guidance, you can just try to do the empirical studies and see that really they are able to meet the basic necessities or not, even providing all the infrastructure, all the benefits of the schemes. So that should be the empirical. It's not anyone is coming and they are just deciding what should be the poverty in India, poverty line. It's a very random one. We have seen in the formula. If you are following the proper guidelines, proper formula based on scientific criteria and empirical based, then only we are going to take the rational decisions. You understand one thing, the whole world under the SDG, Sustainable Development Goal, the first aim is what? First aim is the eradication of poverty from all dimensions, in all dimensions. If the whole world decided to eradicate the poverty, but till now, not a uniform formula and methodology adopted. You take the World Bank measures the poverty, which is known as extreme poverty line. It is $1.9 per person per day. This is the amount. Okay, and World Bank got it. They have taken the 15 least developed countries, and mostly are the African countries. So just on the basis of that, they come out with the result. Yes, it is a minimum amount per day per person needed for survival. So when we are going to measure the poverty line, it must be empirical based and based on the scientific criteria. Then only you can decide. Random measurement, random decisions, always it will create some controversy and debate in the market, in the economy. Clear? Now fine. So this is all, we are ending it, this topic. Something you asked some questions, and let me see. You asked some questions, but yeah. Your question first, Biswajit, you asked modified MRP that I discussed, and one of your question is not Tendulkar Committee 2004-5, why it is accepted 2008? That's I've already mentioned you. Okay, 2004 and 5, for that year you published the data in 2005. So in 2005, Tendulkar Committee was constituted, and 2009 this committee submitted their report, but 2011 the Planning Commission accepted. Acceptance was in 2011. Okay, so can you please discuss the MRP and URP again? Yes, dear. MRP means mixed reference period or mixed recall period. URP means uniform reference period. It means that when you are collecting the data related to consumption, okay, So when only take a time period of 1 month or say 30 days, so 30 days or 1 month if you take the time period for collecting the data, so here only one period you consider, so it is known as URP, Uniform Reference Period. But when you are going to conduct and collect the data and you are choosing the two different time periods, say 1 month you are taking for the remaining items and 1 year you are taking for the say infrequent items like the clothing, expenditure on clothing, expenditure on footwear, expenditure on durable items, expenditure on health, expenditure on educations like this. So if you combine these two survey, respondents will respond it. So it is a two periods you have taken as a reference. So this is known as a mixed reference period, MRP. Clear? So PLB is different in different areas or regions. So is PLB is counted in different regions. No, not it's a regional. It's all over India basis. You are counting you are considering the PLB. The price of commodity is different in different regions or different areas. So is PIB, PLB calculate for different areas or only calculate rural PIB and urban PIB. What's that? Public information? No. Don't take in this way. PLB remains same. Generally consumed goods and services. That is they are taking it. Okay. So accordingly they are taking, but only one PLB. The commodities is there. But in different regions, if you go, the rice and wheat is a very common one. So they take accordingly. Okay. Yes, different product of rice and wheat you can take, but after all you are taking the rice and wheat like this. Why we shifted to modified MRP means why we take 7 days expenditure for some items. But because there are some items like the what items we mentioned, it is you focus and taken differently. So when you taken categorically, so their weightage and their importance is relatively more when you take the all commodity on the 30 days. Clear, dear? So let me stop this topic here. And any new thing is coming, so you can add it, and you please revise, and any comment, any problem you have, so you can discuss with me. Okay, dear, just check. Any questions from this topic, dear? And if you want to write yes, how we can eradicate the poverty, so one better way you understand poverty main reason is income. Income main reason is your employment. So any factors that are contributing in unemployment, all factors will be the factors responsible for poverty. And the moment you are able to eradicate the moment you are able to solve the problem of unemployment, then only you are able to solve the problem of poverty. So these two are very linked in this way. Clear? The topic we are going to discuss now is unemployment. Unemployment. Clear? So if you complete, we are going to complete today. We can complete unemployment topic also. We complete unemployment topic. So from tomorrow, we are going to start your fiscal policy. Clear? So fiscal policy I will start. See here, please try to get. So this concept you must know. The whole circle, this whole circle we have assumed it is your economy. It is your economy, and first you write all of you, then I will discuss with you. First you write. Clear here? Now check here. Let us consider we have assumed the whole circle is our economy. Listen first. This 100 is the total number of persons, means total populations. But out of the total populations, we only considered the working age population. Working age population. And what is the working age group in India? So normally we say it's a 59 years maximum, but it's wrong. Why? Because when you consider all over India, then all services, all the type of economic activities you have to take. So in India, till 14 years, no one is allowed to work. It's come under the Child Labor Act and it's a punishable offense. So if you are above 14 years, means 15 years and above. So 15 years when you complete, then after that you are allowed to work. Clear? So 15 years must be. So once 15 years there, so 15 years to 18 years, you are allowed to work, but non-hazardous activities. So you can work in the economy, but in non-hazardous activities. When you complete 18 years, so from 18 years till your 64 years of working age group, you can work in any activities. Why 64 we takes? Because there are some services in the country, their retirement age is 65 years. So once you complete 65 years, then only you are going to retire. So working age group is what? 64 years. Take the example of if you are a professor at central universities, your retirement is 65 years. So working age group 64. Judges in India 65 years. So 64 is the working age group. The doctors in government hospitals, their retirement age is also 65 years. So you can work till 64 years. So yes, in economy, there are some services whose retirement age is 65 years. So working age group is 64. So in overall country, the 15 years is the minimum age limit, and 64 is the maximum age limit, and this two period is known as the working age group. So we have written that population of age group 15 years to 64 years, it is known as a working age group. Clear? Now, suppose you are taking 100 persons, that is the all working group. Suppose the 100 persons, you ask them, how many of you are interested for work? You ask them, how many of you are interested to work? Okay. So out of 100, 80 persons are willing to work. 80 persons are willing to work. And 20 persons, they don't want to work. They prefer to sit at home. No, I'm not interested to work. Even they don't prefer to go to the labor market. And these 80%, they came in the labor market. The boundary line here, it's known as the labor market in the country. So 20%, they don't want to work, even though they are not going in the labor market for any work. Maybe any reasons. They have enough money. They think, why I should work? Be at home. So these persons, 20% are unemployed. But they are unemployed. Why? Because they want to be. So their category is voluntary unemployed person. Their category is voluntary unemployed persons. Their category. Fine? Okay. Now, out of 80 persons, they are able and willing to work. Able means they are qualified. Okay. They are able one. But they are also willing to work. They don't want to sit at home. Yes, they want to work, and that's the reason they are in the labor market. If 80% they came in the labor market, so out of 80%, 60% got the job. So 80% they are all willing to work. This 80% is known as labor force. So labor force means the population within the working age group, they are able and willing to work. So the total persons is known as, they are willing to work including, is known as a labor force. This 80% of the labor force is known. Out of 80%, 60% got the job, they are working. So this working population is known as the workforce. The working population is known as the workforce. So you got the difference between labor force and workforce? Labor force means the total number of persons they are willing to work. So they are able and willing to work. That is known as the labor force. And out of that, how many persons they actually got the job? The person who got the job or employed, they are known as the workforce. Clear? These 20 persons, they are willing to work. They are able and they want to do job. They are willing to work, but they are not getting the job because market failed to provide the job. So these persons are also unemployed, but their category will be involuntary unemployed. Their category will be involuntary unemployed. Okay. Now check, all of you. Everything's clear? See, clear to all? Okay, fine. Please write. What you developed, write one by one. Write unemployment first. Write unemployment, the meaning of unemployment, right? Unemployment refers to a situation. Unemployment refers to a situation, oblique condition, when a person is able and willing to work, when a person is able and willing to work at the prevailing market wage rate, but does not get the opportunity to work, but does not get the opportunity to work. Clear? Right, one more line. Unemployment refers to only involuntary unemployment. Unemployment refers to only involuntary unemployment. It means written unemployment refers to only involuntary unemployment, means any country who is going to measure the unemployment, they are not going to consider the voluntary unemployed person. They only consider the involuntary unemployed persons. Clear? Now next you write labor force. Right. Labor force includes all people in the working age group, you can write 15 years to 64 years. Okay, 15 years to 64 years, who are able and willing to work. Okay. So you are knowing that out of 80, 60 is known as a workforce, 20 is known as an unemployed person. So 80 is equal to 60 plus 20. So even you can write that labor force equals the workforce plus the number of unemployed persons. Workforce plus number of unemployed persons. Okay. One more line you write. Labor force indicates the supply of labor in the country. Labor force indicates the supply of labor in the country. Clear? Now just think here. After labor force, after getting this, one more concept is we are using in this topic, labor force participation, labor force participation rate. Labor force participation rate. Short form you write LFPR, labor force participation rate, which is equal to labor force working is populations into 100. Okay, into 100 you can say. But out of 100 total population of working age group, how many persons they are willing to work? That is known as a labor force participation rate. And willing to work only arise if they are able to work. So you are getting that in the working age group, under working age group, the all populations who are able and willing to work. Out of that, how many persons are in the, that population out of that is known as a labor force. This ratio is per 100 you can take. So you are knowing that labor force is equal to workforce plus unemployed persons, which is going to be equal to working age population into 100 you can write. Same thing but in different way you can write it. Okay. So what you are getting from this labor force participation rate? It's a very effective instrument, you know. When you are talking about the women's empowerment, when you're talking about the gender equality, women's development, so it is one of the indicator. So labor force participation rate you can measure for women's also, you can measure for male also, and you can measure combined, which is known as a person. So in documents, if you are getting the person means combined male and female, and women's you can get separately and male you can get separately. So labor force participation rate for women, when you want to calculate, then here in the working age population you take only women's. So take the total women's, they are in the working age group, you have take, and out of that, how many persons, how many women's they are willing to work, you take this. They are the labor force of the women's. That ratio you take and multiply with 100, it will give you out of 100 working age group of women's, how many women's are willing to work. Clear? If labor force participation rate for women's is more, which represents that they are economically and socially both empowered. Why? Because if labor force participation rate is more, so it is one of the indicator that they are more, relatively they are more economically well off, because they are working, they are earning, so they are getting it. They are only allowed to participate in the labor market if society is allowing them. Okay, society is allowing it. So that means aggregation of our households. If we are allowing to the women to participate, it means the women are empowered. So labor force participation rate, if women's is going up, then we can say there is more women's empowerment. If you see the the labor force participation rate for women's and male, then all over India, the labor force participation rate for male is much higher than the women. Okay, it's true. But if you take the rural areas and urban areas, the women's, here the labor force participation rate for women's in rural areas is more than the urban areas. Yes. Reason is that your agriculture activities, particularly your animal husbandry or animal rearing, where 100%, around 100% is on and controlled by the women's. And in agriculture activities, a major part is participated by the major activities is controlled and done by the women's. So in rural areas, the women's force participation, labor force participation rate for women's is more in compared to urban areas. But yes, overall, it's lagging behind the male labor force participation rate. And you can use it, and we are using it, one of the indicator of women's empowerment in the country. So this way we define. So just write one line. And when you want to take them for male, in the working age group of population, you take only male, and how many males are participating, you can take the labor force of. Just write labor force participation rate. One line you write. It is the percentage of working age group. It is the percentage of working age group that is part of the labor force. That is part of the labor force. That is part of the labor force. Part of the labor force. Okay. And here? Okay, good. Now, next you write types of unemployment. Types of unemployment. Is right, types of unemployment. Right. One, voluntary unemployment. First you write voluntary unemployment. Right. Voluntary, first one that I discussed with you, voluntary unemployment. Right. It occurs when a person is not willing to work. It occurs when a person is not willing to work at the prevailing rate of wage, at the prevailing wage rate, you can just say, at the prevailing market wage rate. It occurs when a person is not willing to work at the prevailing market wage rate, or does not desire to work, Okay, fine. Full stop, right? It is not taken into consideration. It is not taken into consideration while measuring unemployment in an economy. Already I discussed with you, the voluntary unemployment, generally we don't consider while we are measuring the unemployment. We only may take the consideration of involuntary unemployment. Right? Involuntary unemployment next. You send me any questions? Yeah. See dear, see in working age group they will come. You're asking, sir, is MLA or MP count under working age group or not? Okay, their age will come under the working age group, and frankly, I am telling you, they are also serving the nations. We have to write. Even you know the fact, but we have to write. They are serving the nations, they are formulating the plan, they are the main executive body who are making the plan policies, who are taking the decisions. And the bureaucrats are the implementing agency. That you have to understand. Okay. So they are always one step upper than the administrations, because they are the decision making body and administration is the implementing agencies. So this relations you have to understand. But yes, they are also serving the nation. They are providing the services to the nations. So there is group, so you can count it. Next, you are asking, sir, Aditya, you are asking, what is your question? Sometimes, okay, good. But you know, some questions really it's very difficult to give in the platform like this. So always we prefer to find out a very mid path to say. Okay, second, you are asking, sir, individuals who are preparing for any competitive exams like us will fall under voluntary unemployed persons or involuntary employed persons. Good, Aditya. Okay, Aditya asking one of the questions, and I'm asking all of you these questions. See, in the one online, there is only one thing that personally I am somewhere getting this problem because I'm not able to interact with the students. And this is the one of the drawback what I personally feel. This medium is good, but questions you are receiving from very filtered one and so many types, so many questions coming at one time. So again, it's not possible to answer every question, otherwise you are not going to complete your syllabus. Sometimes it's fine. But one of you asked one question, sir, we are preparing for exam. So what will be my category, voluntary or involuntary employment? Good. If really you understand the concept behind the voluntary unemployment and involuntary unemployment, then you can get the answer. See, the two different conditions. One condition is what? You are preparing for exam, it means you already above 18 years. Okay, already 18 years or above 18 years. So no doubt you are under working age group, you are qualified, so also you are able. Okay, now you are willing to work, you are preparing for this exam, but it's not necessary you are preparing for this exam, you only give this exam, you can give the state PCS also, here also, so you can give this exam. So you are willing to work, but the society is not giving you a chance. Once you cleared, they satisfied, vacancy is there, then only they will give you. So till here, and they given the conditions, you are known as involuntary unemployment. You are willing to do, but they put some conditions. If you qualify, then only you are getting the job. But you are involuntary unemployment. Again, here two different conditions are there. One condition is this: you just pass out from the college, you are starting the preparations. One more thing is, maybe some of you passed your college, you completed your college life, suppose BTech or any course, and you was doing some job, clear? So when you was doing some job, and then you resigned, and after resigning you decided, no, I will start preparing for commission exam. So when you resigned, so suppose you resigned and you are not coming for the preparations, then your category will be the voluntary. If you are sitting at home and you deciding, no, I will not do any job, but the moment you resigned, and you are in the labor market, you are searching better job, you are in the labor market. So here I can't term you the voluntary unemployed. No, I can't term you the voluntary unemployed. And even I cannot put you, yeah, your unemployment is there, involuntary, because the job you want, you are not getting that job. But here different term we are using, that is the frictional unemployment. Means frictional unemployment, there is one category where you resign one job and you are searching for better jobs, and meanwhile you are unemployed. So your category is the frictional unemployment. Clear? So this way you have to take, Aditya. Clear? Now please write next. Involuntary unemployment you written? Right. Involuntary unemployment means, you write, it is a condition when it is, or you write like this, it occurs when a person is willing and able to work, but he does not get work, green, but he does not get work, okay, full stop, right? It is also known, it is the involuntary unemployment. You already given the heading, and you can write one more line. It is also known as open unemployment. Clear? Next we write frictional unemployment. Frictional. You can write frictional unemployment. Frictional unemployment. That's I was talking about. Clear? You was working, you resigned. So after resignation of your job, there are two different conditions. One, if you don't prefer to work and you are not in the labor market, then only I can term you voluntary unemployed. Or even you was not working, suppose, but you're sitting at home and you don't prefer to go to the labor market, then also you are the voluntary unemployed. But when you started preparing for this exam, your category is not the voluntary unemployment, because now you are in the labor market and you are searching for a job. So your category is the involuntary. Okay. Frictional means that I already defined, right? It is temporary unemployment. Which is associated with the changing of jobs, in an economy. Okay. Next, structural unemployment. Structural unemployment. Okay. So what is the meaning of structural unemployment? So simply you understand, due to existing structure in the country, the country failed to create enough job opportunities. But you are willing to work, but you are not getting the job. So you can say you are structural unemployed. You are involuntary, but another way you can see it's structural unemployment. Why? Because due to existing structure of the economy, you are not getting jobs, and it is known as a structural unemployment. So overall, if you see the Indian economy's unemployment, so it is known as the structural unemployment. Clear? So just you write, it is concerned with the structural pattern of the economy. It is concerned with the structural pattern of the economy. It is due to a mismatch. It is due to a mismatch between the skills of a person, and the requirements of the job. Due to a mismatch between the skills of a person and the requirements of the job. Mismatch between the skills of a person and the requirements of the job. It arises in situations such as first you write shortage of factors of production like capital. Shortage of factors of production like capital. Okay. Second you write workers do not have skills for new industries. Workers do not have skills for new industries. Okay. Third one you write demand for labor is less than supply. Demand for labor is less than supply. Demand for labor is less than supply. Demand for labor is less than the supply. Okay. And last one, new technology and new technology you can say. And here. Now, next you write underemployment. Underemployment. Now, here what we are using employment, basically this person is working. Okay, but it is not as underemployment. It's come under the nature of unemployed persons. To some extent we can say the concept is underemployment means you are doing job but it is not suitable as per your qualifications, your skills and experience. You are well qualified, suppose you are BTech and MTech, but you are not getting job opportunities. Suppose you got the job opportunity of clerical job, you joined. So that time it's termed you are underemployed. Clear? See, sometimes what we are doing some mistakes, if you are, suppose you are working somewhere, even as per your qualifications, okay, but suppose the market is around 50,000 rupees per month, but you are getting around 30,000, 25,000. So sometimes they are using the word, I am underemployed. Don't say underemployed. You are not underemployed because you are working as per your qualification and skills. But yes, wages or income you are getting is less from the market wage rate. You can say I am underpaid. Okay, not underemployment. Underemployment. Clear? Write this word. It is a situation in which a person is employed in a job which is not suitable with his oblique her qualification, comma, skills and experience. Clear? It is a situation in which a person is employed is employed in a job which is not suitable with his/her qualification, skill and experience. Full stop, right? Under this condition, potentials of the persons are not utilized at the optimum level. Clear? Full stop, right? Underemployment is another problem. In developing countries. Like India, along with unemployment, that is open unemployment you can say, or unemployment you can say. Clear? So two types of problem is facing. One, persons are not getting job, even they are getting, but that is underemployed. So these two problems you are facing. Next one is disguised unemployment. What is the meaning of disguised unemployment? Anyone? Disguised unemployment, you can take one example. You take the economy, or suppose it is a farmland area. You take a family having 4 members, and this family having this much of land area. So 3 brothers, they all are married. So the 3 are working on this land area and they are producing the maximum output. 4th one was unmarried before a few years. So this brother was allowing you, okay, fine, you enjoy your life. But when 4th one got married finally, so they insisted, no, you have to work now because you have a family. So they insisted you come and work on the land area, the farmland. He joined, but his contribution is 0. Remember, dear, I discussed you MPL in very starting class, where I was discussing the income and product. These two concepts is same in the macroeconomic level. So MPL, it is the marginal product of labor. It is a marginal product of labor. Remember. And MPL I defined it is the additional amount of output. It is the additional amount of output produced by one additional unit of labor. You remember? Check. You are getting this MPL? It is the additional amount of output produced by one additional unit of labor. So 4th brother, they are joining this production, but his contribution is what? 0, because output remains same. So MPL of this person is 0. So this person is known as disguised unemployment. So disguised unemployment means the contribution of that particular labor is 0. Think about this. Contribution of this labor is 0 in total output. Okay. But when this 4th brother started working on this farmland, you tell him you are not working, then you can see. He will say, no, I am working from the morning to evening. How can you say I'm not working? So disguised unemployment is very difficult to identify who is the disguised unemployment. So how can you say if any of four, you just remove him, okay, then you can produce same level of output. So simply you can say, okay, the same output can be produced by less unit of labor. So UPSC asked the question disguised unemployment. They given the options disguised unemployment. In case of disguised unemployment, MPL will be what? So MPL, that is a marginal productive labor, will be 0. Fine. Please write. Disguised unemployment. It is a situation in which more persons are employed to a job which can be done with equal efficiency by less number of labor, okay, full stop. Right, following are the features of disguised unemployment. One is, first to write, marginal productivity of labor, that is the MPL short form. Marginal productive labor is 0. First point. Second point you write, it is not possible to identify the persons who are actually unemployed. Next you write, excess of labor and lack of capital. Capital is the principal reason of disguised unemployment. Excess of labor and lack of capital. Is the principal reason of disguised unemployment. Change the para, you write one line more. Disguised unemployment generally associated with agriculture sector. Next is the cyclical unemployment. Cyclical unemployment. Cyclical unemployment means, to understand the cyclical unemployment concept, you should know about the business cycle or trade cycle concept. So there is a concept of business cycle. If you take, that is a positive growth rate, and below than this, assume it's a negative growth rate. So here you take boom period. Suppose economic growth is become negative or very low, just you take below than this, you can say recession. And the worst part you can say depression. Okay, and then you can say recovery, you can say the whole part, the whole range is, you can say, name it recovery. So here 3 you can take and go back to my earlier classes. If economy is boom, it means aggregate demand is higher, output is higher, employment is higher. When economy starts going to downward, like this downward trend started happening, means aggregate demand started decreasing, output started decreasing, employment started decreasing. So if it continued, you can enter to the recessionary effect. Okay, and if you leave it, then this condition will worst, and which you can say is the depression. Trade cycle, business cycle says that all economy, I mean the economy is passes through this circle. They are passing through this circle. If something happened today, it does not mean that tomorrow it will not happen. It will happen due to other reasons. Okay, one reason, so other reasons it will happen. And again, economy is going to downward. Again, it will recover. Like 1930s depressions. Again in 2008, great recessions. Okay, it is not going to stop. It is known as the trade cycle or business cycle. It is known as the trade cycle or business cycle, you can say. Trade cycle, or you can say business cycle. Business cycle. Okay, you can say. So they are saying first it will be say in the boom. If it is a boom, then going downwards, come to recession, come to the depression. Leave it. Then economy start improving again, and they will reach to the boom. But when it will reach to the boom, we can't say that time period. And that is here there is a role of fiscal and monetary policy and foreign trade policy. Okay, time bound manner, you are recovering your economy and reaching at the higher economic growth and development. You are reaching that. Okay, so this circle is known as a trade cycle or business cycle. So get it? If you are at boom period, aggregate demand is higher, output is higher, employment is higher. But you're coming to recession or depression, aggregate demand is low, production is low, unemployment is more. So here employed people, they got the unemployed here, unemployment here, or unemployed, became unemployed. So these persons is known as the cyclical unemployment, or this unemployment is known as cyclical unemployment. Just check. This unemployment is known as cyclical unemployment because it is due to the trade cycle. Just think. Okay. Right, cyclical unemployment. It's going to be 7 hours. Okay, right dear. It is associated with a business cycle of the economy. It is associated with a business cycle of the economy. That is with recessions. That is with recession in the overall economy. Recessions in the overall economy. Full stop, right? It occurs due to economic cycles of boom. It occurs due to economic cycles of boom, comma, recessions and depression. It occurs due to economic cycles of boom, comma, recessions or depression. Full stop, right? During recession, aggregate demand falls, which leads to fall in output and employment. Full stop, right? The fall in employment, that is increase in unemployment, increase in unemployment, in this condition is known as cyclical unemployment. Okay, dear? Now, next one you write seasonal unemployment. Check, is it clear to all? Let me check your questions. Yeah. Few questions you send it. Sir, how does World Bank measures poverty? Some international institutions also measure poverty. See, every institutions, every country has the different methodology. Like World Bank, relatively very rational one. The empirical, on the basis of empirical studies, they are estimating how much money you need to meet the basic necessities. Okay, so like this. MPL I discussed with you, dear, marginal productivity of labor. Okay. Okay, the cyclical unemployment is clear. Cyclical unemployment is clear. Okay, just think about MPL. Let me discuss. This part I think it's clear to all. MPL is because if you go and just see a few years back, so they asked disguised unemployment in terms of MPL. So disguised unemployment, what you learn it, yes, the laborers, I mean you are getting that laborers are working, but they are not contributing in the total output. Their contribution is zero, that you can say. Okay, just check. MPL, that's marginal productivity of labor. Just think. Suppose here I am taking labor, here I am taking total output. Clear? So suppose I am using 10 units of labor and total output produced in the plant is 100 units. Clear? 100 units. You used one more unit of labor, so total labor is now 11. So use 1 unit of labor plus 1. But due to increase in 1 unit of labor and other factors remaining same, capital, other things remaining same, and total output increase here 110, say 110 you can say. So how much output is increased? 10 units. So this 10 units is known as 11th units contributions, because when one additional units added, the total output increases 10 units. So this 10 units is known as MPL, marginal productivity of labor of 11th unit, 11th units. Okay, here is known as the marginal productivity of labor is the 11th unit. So you can define here, just you write all of you MPL, one line. Okay, marginal productivity of labor, just you write. It is additional amount of output. It is additional amount of output. It is additional amount of output produced by one additional unit of labor, produced by one additional unit of labor, produced by one additional unit of labor. Clear? So here one additional units contributed 10 units, so MPL is positive. But if you are adding 1 unit, but if there is no change in output, it remains 100, so MPL is going to be 0, then this labor is considered as the disguised unemployment. Fine? Okay, one more question. No, you have to be specific. You are writing if someone unemployed due to more than one reason, then what should we call it? See, if you take overall, then you can come or you belongs to one of these two, one of these. Okay, so what are the, this is the reason. These are the reasons. All these types of unemployment basically is what? See dear, fact is they all are unemployed. All are unemployed. But the same unemployed persons, you're trying to see from different angle, different reasons. Yes, what are the reasons? And the regions term them in the different, they put them in different types of unemployment. Simple. Like you're unemployed, maybe voluntary, maybe involuntary, when you want and when you don't want. If you want to be unemployed, it is known as a voluntary. You don't want, then involuntary. If you unemployed for short term, you are searching for a better job. Suppose you are in the BTech, you complete it and you joined a particular firm. You reached at the good post, but you want to go to management. Then management put it conditions. You should have MBA degree. अगर जब तक नहीं होगा, you can't promote it to the management. So you left for 1 year because so many institutions, you know, there's offering you the MBA for executives. So you left job and for 1 year you joined the MBA program. You're doing that. Meanwhile, you are unemployed. So your category will be the frictional unemployment, short-term unemployment. If boom and recession, it's happened. It's a cyclical unemployment. You are working, but you are not contributing. Disguised one. You are working, but which is not suitable to your exam. Your qualification experience. You are underemployment. And one more thing is that you can add it seasonal. Yeah. Seasonal unemployment. The word itself is explanatory, yeah. Seasonal unemployment. What is seasonal unemployment? If season comes, demand is there, you got employment. Season is off, you are unemployed. So you are known as a seasonal unemployment. So these are what? These are you are basically defining it due to reasons. Okay, what are the reasons? On the basis of that, you classified types of unemployment. Okay. But you can put in one of the other. Okay. If you're not the cyclical, you can put seasonal. You can put it. Right. Seasonal unemployment. It arises because seasonal unemployment. It arises because some occupations require workers. Some occupations require workers only during certain parts of the year. Only during certain parts of the year. That is during seasons only. That is during seasons only. Such as in agriculture sector. Such as in agriculture sector. Such as in agriculture sector. Clear, dear? Okay. Now, how can you measure the unemployment? So, there are 3 ways. If you take the government institutions, so they measure the unemployment in 3 ways. Usual status, weekly status and daily status approach. Clear? So first you write, basically usual status you are taking 365 days as a criteria. Weekly status you can take 1 week as a criteria. And daily status you take 1 day as a criteria. So just write usual status approach. Right. First one you write 365 days taken as 365 days taken as reference period. Taken as reference period. Full stop. This approach estimates only those persons as unemployed only those persons as unemployed who has no gainful work. GINFUL, gainful work. Who has no gainful work for a measured time, during the 365 days, preceding the date of survey, preceding the date of survey. When the day when survey is conducted, from that day on, I mean before that 365 days they will take whether you got any job or not for measured time period, that is the gainful work. Then only it is defined you are employed or unemployed. Weekly status approach, you write second one. Yeah. Weekly status approach. That is 1 week they are taking as a reference. Right. This approach records only those persons as unemployed, who has no gainful work, even for an hour, on any day of the week, preceding the date of survey. Again I am repeating, this approach records only those persons as unemployed who has no gainful work even for an hour on any day of the week, preceding the date of survey. Okay. Now third one, daily status approach. You can write a person has no gainful work. Even for 1 hour, in a day, is considered as unemployed for that day. Full stop. Under this approach, unemployment status of a person is measured for each day in a reference period. Clear? So all these three methods, okay, you remember. And last one we are going to discuss is what are the exact reason of unemployment, and these reasons from unemployment you can connect to the poverty also. Okay, so just give the heading successful sectors. Successful sectors in India are not employment or labor intensive. employment or labor intensive. Successful sectors in India are not employment or labor intensive. Actually, labor intensive, I put it the employment. Okay, employment generation you can say. Okay, they are generating employment, but not as per our requirement, and they generated very specific employment. So some industries, take the example of automobile industries, auto parts industries. They are developed in India, two-wheelers, but they are the capital intensive in nature. They are not the labor intensive. So they not created the huge job opportunities, and they created only for semi-skilled and skilled workers. Take other sectors like pharmaceuticals. Okay, your IT industries, banking, insurance, telecommunications. These are created the job opportunity, but only for skilled. But for low skilled, which industries that we have to develop to solve a problem of jobless economic growth rate? That is the food processing industries, where the job opportunity may create more. Your clothing industries, footwear industries, where China excelled better, but we are lagging behind it. Okay, so these things you have to remember. So please write, all of you. Right. First point you write: fast growing manufacturing sector. Fast growing manufacturing sector such as auto, auto parts, auto parts, two-wheelers, engineering goods, chemicals, and petroleum refining, You remember all the sectors here. Petroleum refining use very little low skilled labor, per unit of investment. It means say that they are not labor intensive in nature. Okay, particularly your low skilled person, and that is we have more. So if you want to provide more job opportunities, we have to think about it. Second point, right? Other fast growing sectors in India, other fast growing sectors in India, such as software, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications, and financial services. Financial services, you can just take all the things here. Financial services use mostly skilled laborers. Means they created the job opportunities, but mostly for skilled laborers, not the low skilled laborers. So these two things you can say that. Second point you are knowing, other again I am repeating, other fast growing sectors in India such as software, pharmaceuticals, telecommunications, and financial sectors use mostly skilled labor. So you can imagine that even the services sector where we perform better, they fail to create enough job opportunities as our requirement. They created, but not as per our requirement. Clear? And they created job opportunities only for the skilled workers, skilled laborers, not for the low skilled workers. Change the para, you write it. On the other hand, sectors such as clothing, textiles, footwear, food processing, food processing, and electronic goods and electronics goods. Okay, just check all these things here: the clothing, the textiles, footwear, food processing, electronic goods. These are basically more labor intensive. These are basically more labor intensive. Okay, and they can create more job opportunities. So you understand one thing: when you say we want to go for we should create more job opportunities, it does not mean where it's not necessary we should adopt the labor intensive technique. No dear, there are so many sectors where we have to go to the capital intensive method and technology, capital intensive technique. Other than only we can compete our domestic market as well as our international market, then only we can compete. But suppose, okay, on other hand, we have to solve the problem of jobless economic growth. It means we have to create more job opportunities in the country. So what is the solution? So we have to find out some sectors. We have to find out some sectors where there is a possibility to increase more job opportunities. And these are the sectors. Okay, like you take the example of textiles. Textile, you take the example. Clothing industries, you take the example. Okay, at one time, Indian product was very famous in the world, very famous. Okay, but nowadays even today we have potential to perform better, but due to so many constraints, we are not able to compete. We are not able to compete. Take one example: Vietnam is growing faster. Okay, Bangladesh, they started performing better. Even the Indian manufacturers in India, they prefer to go and just take the advantage of Bangladeshi manufacturing units. They are set up, they are giving the order from there, they are bringing from the Bangladesh. They are performing better. Okay, because China, due to increase in the wage rate in the China, these industries becomes relatively less competitive for Chinese economy. So the market is open for India, Bangladesh, Vietnam, and other countries. They can excel better. Okay, so Bangladesh is performing. So in these sectors, already China performed. You take the example of all your shoes, footwears. You are saying your name is maybe Adidas, or you can just Puma. You can just take any names. You can just see that. But I request you, please go and see manufacturing. Where it's manufactured? Try to see this, then you will get it. Brand name is given by the other nations, but basically it's manufactured in China, because they're getting the environment and they can produce at the low cost and they can sell at the very high price. So this advantage they are getting this. Okay, so India has potentials. India has potentials. So we does not mean that we want to create more job opportunities, we should go and just use all the economic activities available. No, we find out some of the sectors. They are relatively more labor intensive in nature. So at the same time, other sectors are growing. If these sectors we are able to grow and develop, then only we are able to solve the problem of jobless economic growth. So that's your writing this last line. On the other hand, sectors such as clothing, textiles, footwear, food processing, and electronic goods, which employ lots of LOTS, lots of low-end semi-skilled workers, semi-skilled workers in which China has excelled, but have not done well in India. So what we can say, yes, we have potentials. If we are able to solve and able to focus on these sectors, then we may create more job opportunities and we can solve the problem of jobless economic growth and also the unemployment issue. And you are knowing that the unemployment issue, and poverty in any country, including India, these two are correlated. If you are able to solve the problem of employment or unemployment, that is, you are able to solve the problem of poverty. Clear, dear? Okay, so this topic is finished. If you want to say anything, you can say me or send me. I can see your questions. Okay, yeah, few questions you send. That's I discuss MPLDR. And if someone, oh, that's this question I already discussed with you. And tomorrow we are going to start your fiscal policy. Okay, so let me complete first fiscal policy because I don't know when I'm going to start your. Actually, yeah, someone is asked is when you are going to complete the economics topic. See, dear, we have the topic and we are discussing the topic, and it takes time. It takes time. So till Friday, whatever things it is going to complete, I will complete this. In the next round, I will come, and the remaining part I will do in the next round. Meanwhile, you can take this class for other topic, other subjects. But we are trying to complete as soon as possible the economics, particularly. Okay, because it is going to help you in the major questions, around 20 questions they are asking. 17, 18, 19, 20, these are the range. They're around 20 questions they're asking in the PT paper. So we are trying to complete this portion as soon as possible. Don't worry. Okay. Fine, dear. We can meet tomorrow. If you have any doubts, any questions, then you can send me. I can just wait and I can check related to this. So if you have any question, then you can send me. Otherwise, I know what you are going to write. Thank you, sir. But still you are not written this, so I can expect. Okay, then we are meeting tomorrow, dear. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.